At kasama natin ngayong umaga ang sumulat ng love letter to Filipinos, ang American expatriate na si Dr. David Harwell. Magandang umaga. Good morning, Dr. Harwell.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, you wrote this love letter to us, Filipinos. What triggered this?
Well, I thought I travel a lot with my job, and the kind of work I do makes me move around frequently. And I thought recently that I was going to have to return to the U.S. for a while, and I did not like that idea because I had wanted to be in the Philippines for a long time. And so I sat down on the morning that I thought I was going to have to return, and I thought, well, how do I tell everybody thank you, not only here, but in all the other countries where I've seen you? And so I wrote it very quickly and decided to send it out. My dad is a newspaper editor, so my instinct was to go to the print media to reach everybody.
So you're a teacher, right? Or you're a language expert, and so that's why you travel around the world. And,
yeah.
And we know that Filipinos are also teachers around the world, so you probably meet a lot of Filipinos in the teaching profession?
Quite a few teachers, and of course I've interacted with them all over the Middle East and Asia, and I noticed after some time of being in the Philippines, I started noticing that I would hear Tagalog words. I started noticing that the Filipino look, and realized you guys are everywhere.
And I guess the emotion that at least partly triggered this love letter was sentimental.
Yes.
You were going to go back to the United States, and you felt that you weren't going to be in the Philippines for a long time.
Yes, that's actually what I thought, and I did not like the idea because I really love the Philippines. It is probably the closest culture to the culture of the American South where I am from. And
really sorry to interrupt, but why do you say that? I mean, you didn't generalize about America. In fact, in your letter, you seem to kind of, in a way, put down American culture, but now you're saying something positive about a particular region in America. Where you're from? You're from Alabama, the state of Alabama.
Of course, I'm from Alabama. My critique was general, of course, but the things that I love about the South have sort of vanished over the years. They're fading in the same way that a lot of American culture has. The points that I wanted to make about our pursuit of material things and our loss of family values really seem to continue to evolve in America. They seem to have been stronger when I was younger. Maybe this is a childish perception or not, but
well, I've been to the United States. I know that the South, people are very hospitable, and I don't know about being family-oriented, but certainly very friendly. Yeah. Strangers tend to say hi and even talk to each other, as opposed to people maybe in the North, the colder North.
Yes. It's colder in many ways. Yeah, but I do love it. It's the community, the people. People always ask me when they find out how many countries I've been in, what's your favorite? I always tell them the same thing. It's the Philippines. And they always ask me why. I say because of the people.
Okay. Well, there's a certain, again, there's a general characterization of Filipinos overseas. But there's an interesting line here. You say that if the Filipinos were to go home from the Middle East, the world would stop. Okay, it sounds like an exaggeration. But what exactly did you mean? The world will stop if all Filipinos went home from the Middle East.
Well, oil is the lifeblood of the world. That's the point that I made. And in the Middle East, I worked in several different countries, traveled in even more, and I saw Filipinos taking it from the ground, running the offices that made all of the deals, putting it onto the ships, and then, of course, sailing the ships. And then the whole support structure there, teachers and hospitals, largely staffed by Filipinos, always working diligently, always smiling, and always helping everybody.
So in practically every line of work that has to do with the energy industry, there are Filipinos, from taking the oil out of the ground to transporting it to countries around the world.
Exactly. But I frequently saw that their lives were not so happy. They would smile, they would take care, but they were often not treated well. They did not get paid as well as other people who had left their countries. And I always thought that was a great injustice. I thought they were the fuel that's running the world. And I'm sure other people would step in and take the jobs if all the Filipinos went home, but it was a bit of an exaggeration. But they're practically running the world now. Very small country, very large impact.
Well, actually, perhaps one reason why your letter struck a chord here in the Philippines, and perhaps among in Filipino communities around the world, is that we're usually portrayed as these underdogs, and many of the stories we hear about Filipinos overseas are sad stories or even horror stories, and you know, even about Filipinos who did bad things or committed wrongdoing and are now on death row in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
And your love letter was almost purely positive. I mean, but a skeptic might say, well, you know, you put on rose-colored glasses because there is a downside to our culture and our people, and so would you say that it was a bit of a romanticized view of Filipinos in a way?
It was. You have to understand that I'm a literature professor by nature and I write, so that's going to be a bit of my habit. But you also need to understand that what you said about the, let's call it the worst element of culture, is true for every country. But I'll say it like this. Manny Pacquiao is pound for pound the best boxer in history. Filipinos are pound for pound the best-hearted people I've met.
Well, that's a very sweet thing for you to say. But then again, many Filipinos don't want to stay in the Philippines. They want to go to your country.
Right.
In fact, so do you find irony in that? The fact that, I mean, you're someone who could probably live anywhere in the world, and you say that the Philippines is a great place to live, and you don't want to go back to America. I mean, is there kind of an irony there?
There is an irony. I don't mean to imply that I don't love my country. I don't love it at all, but I think everybody can stand up to critique. I'm from a family of writers, journalists, and ministers. That's what we do. We stand up and we critique. But we do it for the good intent. And so when I was writing the part about America and the irony of me being here, I was really lamenting something that in a broad stroke, in a very broad stroke, is wrong with our culture. And of course it's not everyone. You can't generalize everybody. But there's irony that I'm here and many people want to go there, which is why I wrote in the letter, be careful. My whole point in the letter was be careful if you go to America. It's not all riches. You may earn dollars, but you will pay them also. And the debt problem is huge. We just had a world recession based on the collapse of American debt load.
Well, that's kind of the feedback many of us here in the Philippines get from relatives and friends overseas, that, you know, there may be these material rewards, but, you know, in a way it's lonely, you know, they're homesick, they're away from family members, and as you say, the family is actually probably the most important thing in the world.
I think it is, and I think maybe what really drew me to the whole idea of writing this is that in a way, not to the extreme, of course, that I've seen, but in a way I empathize with being in other countries away from your family. I know how it feels. And I've seen that happen again and again, and I wanted to make a statement about it. I'm a teacher. Like I said, I'm from a family of journalists and ministers. We stand up and we talk. So. And
you wrote, and it was a quite effective piece of writing. Congratulations to you, Mr. Dr. Hartwell.
Yeah, thank you.
And what's your next step now?
My next step, I will continue work where I am now. I work for a great company of friends. It's called Results Company. We're actually meeting your president today in Cebu for the opening of one of our new locations. And I will be here for the long term. And maybe one day I'll step back into the literature classroom. I'd love to do that here.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing your time and your very sweet thoughts about Filipinos and the Philippines.
Thank you.